What is happening, folks? It's been a while since we were back on this channel. I've been a very, very busy person over the last couple of weeks, but of course, we had to keep the schedule somewhat busy over here, as I try to do. So hit subscribe and drop a like, all that good stuff. If you're enjoying the increased output so far this year on this channel, after ages of promising that it would be a thing. Today we are going to be keeping it simple. We are going to be putting every fight that's been announced for 167 into a tier list. That is the event that goes down at the Impact Arena in Bangkok on June 7th. It looks like a stacked show. I think all of these fights are pretty good. Maybe there's a couple that aren't as good as the rest, but we will get into that, as I mentioned, with a tier list. I will also be doing a full kind of card preview and rundown, probably on fight week of this event, so stay tuned for that in terms of going a little bit deeper into the fights and matchups and things like that. And of course, I will be talking about this card over the coming weeks over on the One on SK podcast that is available on the Sportskeeda MMA Originals YouTube channel, myself and Nick Katkin, and some fantastic guests, one of which we actually had on the show last week, who is fighting on this card. That would be Mr. Dennis Purich, who we spoke to last week, and that was a great chat, along with Reggie and Urstel joining the show as well. So go check that out. You can find it on the Sportskeeda MMA Originals YouTube channel. As I said, it'll be in the live section. You can watch the replays, or you can catch us live whenever we do so. So follow me on Twitter, follow me, all that good stuff. It'll be in the description below. So will the link to this tier list if you want to make one for yourself. I'm interested to see what you guys have different opinions on and things like that. So go check that out. And yeah, let me know in the comments below which ones you disagree with me on, which fight you're personally most excited about. But without further ado, let's get into it. Let me show you the tier list. First of all, I'll keep myself small over here in this little corner, and then we'll change things around a little bit, but just to show you all of the fights. Now, a couple of, I suppose, the word has escaped me. A couple of, I don't know. I don't know what the word is. It's gone from my head. Housekeeping. There you go. A couple of housekeeping things to get to first that you may notice from looking at this tier list. First of all, there is a fight on here that I do actually not know whether it is happening or not. That would be Ben Tynan versus Mauro Sorelli in the heavyweight division. This fight was announced, but then there was a running order put out that it wasn't on, although we haven't had the official bout order as of yet. So I don't know whether this fight will actually happen, but I thought I would rank it just in case. And finally, there aren't individual graphics for the main and co-main events. That would be Stamp and Denise over here, and Tawanchai and Joe Natwa. Fortunately, both of those fights fit into the same category for me. I will tell you which one I like more because, of course, with a tier list, the ones that are the furthest to the left, in my opinion, are the ones that are higher up on that category. So, for example, if I put two fights into Unmissable, the one that is closest to the left is the one that I think is the better of the two, if that makes sense. I'll explain it as we go along in case you get confused. But like I said, the link to this tier list will be down below. It's just on tierlistmaker.com or tiermaker.com, I should say. So you can have a go at that for yourself. And I'm interested to see what people disagree with me on and what stuff people do agree with me on. As I mentioned it just then, we will do the Mauro Sorelli and Ben Tynan fight first because I don't actually know whether it's going to be on this card. I think that it makes a lot of sense for Ben Tynan. Mauro Sorelli is probably a step up from the two opponents he has faced previously. A good name to have on his record in this division. I think when he beats, or if he beats Sorelli, then you're looking at, one of the really top guys like a Rugrug or a Buchecha. Malakin, I think maybe not yet personally, but right up there, So I'm going to put this into good addition. I think that fight makes a lot of sense for Ben. It makes a lot of sense for Mel Sorelli. This could put him back into, again, he could be the guy to go on and face a Ruger or a Buchecha or somebody like that with a win. So it just makes sense. Good matchmaking. And I'm not expecting this fight to be the best thing ever, but it's still a good matchup, I think. So that is where we should leave that one. We will move on to the next one here that we have in this queue, which is Saitachai, of course, a legend of the striking divisions and a fantastic competitor in One Championship who is facing the debuting Masaki Nori, who, of course, has come over from Japan. I'm super happy to see Nori get thrown straight in at the deep end against Saitachai. I think that this, for me, goes into unmissable. Because I think that this could go on any card, any, this could be in the US shows. Obviously, Japan show would make a lot of sense, but we have it here instead. And when you talk about a perfect debut, like the debut of Nori was going to be exciting anyway, because people have wanted to see him in this mix for a long time. You of course potentially have the featherweight kickboxing Grand Prix coming up, so interested to see where these two guys fit into that. You would imagine that both of them will be 2 of the 8 involved. So yeah, it would have been. I think that Nori would have gone into hyped regardless of who he was fighting. The fact that it's Sitachai puts it into unmissable territory for me. I'm going to put the debut of Adrian Lee also into good addition. I will put it higher than the Ben Tynan one. I have a little bit more interest in this one because, of course, it is Adrian Lee's pro debut. A lot of pressure on him, seemingly a lot of weight on those shoulders, of course, living up to the Lee family name, Christian, Angela, and of course the late Victoria as well. He's the first member of the Lee family to fight since Victoria's tragic passing, which of course is going to weigh heavy to some degree, at least. We've been hearing about Adrian Lee a lot, especially from his brother Christian, who he trains with. So he's going to be debuting against I don't want to get this guy's name. I am going to look it up. I bet, is it Santino, or am I getting confused with the former WWE wrestler? That is my issue. Because it's an easy one. It's Antonio. Close, Santino, right? Come on, you guys got to give me that one. I think I had made a joke previously about Santino Marella, and so it put the thought in my brain, one of those. But yeah, I think that's a good fight, and I'm excited to see it. Itsuki Hirata is back on this card, also taking on Brazil's Victoria Souza. This one for me is going to go into could be better. And the reason I say that is not because of I wanted a higher profile matchup for Itsuki. I think that this makes a lot of sense for her to take. I don't want to be too critical of Souza and say it's a backward step. But when you look at the opponents that Itsuki has been fighting lately, right? Her last 2 fights have been losses to Ayaka Miura and Hamsio Hee. And I didn't think she looked particularly good in either of those fights. So I think this makes sense. I'm just personally not that invested in this fight. If Itsuki puts on a good performance, then that'll be the best takeaway. But if this is another tough fight for her, then it could be a tough watch. So that is why it goes into that one for me. Denis Puric versus Rodtang. This for me is going to go in hyped. It's like right at the top of hyped though. Purely for me, the reason it's in hyped and not unmissable is the fact that it's a kickboxing bout. And whilst Dennis told me and Nick Atkin on the One on SK podcast that suits him better, he's actually more of a kickboxer than a Muay Thai guy anyway. I would rather see, Dennis challenge Rodtang for the flyweight Muay Thai title, which of course he has and hasn't defended in a little while now. I understand why Rodtang is fighting in kickboxing, because you're potentially looking at him fighting Takeru in a Japan show later this year. So I get why Rodtang would want to have a kickboxing bout first. But you listen to what Dennis has been saying. He's been wanting to fight Rodtang for a long time. I think that this is an opponent that, because of some of the talk and also his aggressive fighting style, that is going to meet fire with fire. I think that this will bring that intensity out of Rodtang that we don't always see. His performances are always a lot of fun, but sometimes fight week and things like that, he doesn't seem too invested. And I think that a guy like Denis Puric will bring that out of him, whether he likes it or not. So I'm excited to see that one. And that is why it goes into that category. I will also put Liam Harrison and Katsuki Kitano in here, but I'm kind of debating whether it goes into hyped or good addition. I'm going to put it into good addition right at the top. Now, my reasoning for this, again, Liam Harrison coming back after, over 2 years. Over 2 years? No. Nearly 2 years, right? He got injured in August, I believe, against Nongo. Was it August? Something like that. And he's been out for a long time. It looked like he might never come back and stuff like that. So for me, Liam Harrison coming back is instantly an attraction. I'm excited to see that. The reason I don't put it any higher is because the Sexam fight, which is already booked for 1168 in Denver, two legends clashing in a fight that we've wanted to see for a long time. That's the real one to get excited about. This one is kind of just, getting Liam back in there, getting back into the swing of things. I don't know a ton about Katsuki Kitano. We did interview Liam on the SK podcast, and he did, say some good things about him and things like that, and that he's not overlooking him or anything like that. But in reality, I'm excited for this fight, but the Sexan one is the one I'm really excited for, right? So that's why that is going to stay there. And I'm going to put Cade Ruotolo versus Blake Cooper in. I'm going to put it higher than Liam Harrison and Katsuki Kitano, because I've been looking forward to seeing Cade Ruotolo in MMA for a long time. Now, again, the reason this doesn't go any higher for me is, in fact, I'm going to put it into hyped. I'm super interested in this fight, and I because I just want to see how Cade does. Of course, you have the fact that he also has a more exciting matchup booked for 1168, but that is a grappling contest that we will speak about in a minute, and I want to see him compete in MMA. Super interested to see how well he does. And so that alone, the intrigue factor, and I think with the intrigue factor, there's an argument for Liam Harrison and Kitano being in that upper hyped category as well. But I think we'll leave it there. We'll leave it there for now. And Musumeci versus Gabriel Souza. Where do we put this one? For me, it's again top of good edition or low hyped. I'm gonna put it there. I think that it's actually, is that fair? No, I don't think it is. I think it should go there. And the reason for this is I know that there'll be a lot of people probably watching this going, really? Over Liam Harrison's return, right? But the reasoning is I am a big Mikey Musumeci fan. I like watching him, so I'm excited to see him anytime he's going to be in competition. But the reason that this is up, like right at the top of good edition and not lower, is I'm not going to put it, unmissable, because I'm frankly not that big of a grappling fan. The matchup between Mikey and Cade, however, would be in unmissable. That is going down in Denver. I can't wait to see that champ versus champ matchup. But Gabriel, it is Gabriel Souza, right? I'm not butchering his name there. Yeah. Gabriel Souza is the last guy to defeat Mikey Musumeci. And that is why, this one makes a ton of sense to do. I think it's one of the better grappling matches that one have put together. Again, not quite as good as Musumeci and Cade. That is phenomenal stuff. So I'm actually really excited for that one. That might be an unpopular opinion. I'm sure I'll get scolded. I love Liam Harrison as much as the next person. Believe me, he's one of my favorite fighters. But I just think, the Harrison and Sexan matchup is the one we want to see. And I think Musumeci versus Souza is one of the better ones that one championship could put together. Johan Ghazali versus, I'm going to butcher his name. Let's pull it up. Nguyen Tran Doi Nhat. That for me is going to go. Is it above? I'm going to put it there. It's a decent step for Johan Ghazali, but I don't see it being super competitive. I think that it feels a little bit of a necessary obligation, this fight for Johan Ghazali, for Jojo to have this fight. You don't want to skyrocket him to the top too quickly, but in reality, we all kind of know that he should probably be competing higher than this. Dennis Purich, when me and Nick Atkin interviewed him on the One on SK podcast, was obviously Dennis beat him. And Dennis was like, Jojo's going to smoke this guy. So that is why that goes in there for me. I'm not sure. I don't think it's particularly that intriguing of a matchup. And finally, the two title fights at the top of the card, Tawan Shine, Joe Natwa, and Stamp and Denise. I'm going to put that one into hyped. For the very reason, I think that these two title fights are good. They're not bad title fights. Again, hyped. Like, people might be thinking that I'm like downplaying this. Hyped is good. Like, that means I'm excited to watch this fight. Both of those fights. Do I think they're unmissable? No, because I think there's better fights for both people in their divisions. Not saying that both fights don't make sense. Tawan Shine, Joe Natwa obviously had that very close fight in kickboxing back in October at One Fight Night 15, so I think it makes sense for them to rematch. in Muay Thai, so that Tawanchai can kind of make a statement, if you will. And the first fight was really exciting and entertaining. So I expect nothing less from these two guys. So I think that that one will be probably the better of the two fights. Obviously that I've put together here. Stamp and Denise makes a lot of sense. There's a bit of narrative there with them being training partners and friends. You've obviously got the narrative of whether Denise can use her grappling. Personally, I'm not too sure. Again, we'll get into more of this in the preview of this card on Fight Week, but I think it makes perfect sense. It's a good first title defense for Stamp. It'll be cool to see her headline this show as an MMA world champion, of course. But, you know, am I thinking this could be the one where Stamp loses her belt? Denise could be the person to beat this reign of Stamp and end it early, pull off a shock upset. Of course, anything can happen, but I'm not really, you know, I'm not counting down the minutes just in case that does happen. And so that is my final tier list for this card for all the fights that we have announced. Again, this could chop and change before fight night. So if any of this is out of date, my apologies. But hopefully my reasoning at the very least makes sense to you guys, even if you don't agree with where I've put everything. I think that, you know, come fight week, when I'm starting to really get excited to watch these fights, a couple of these might bump their way up. You know, if Rodtang and Dennis have got that intensity on fight week, that could potentially go up to a missable. Everything else could kind of shift along and stuff like that. So we'll see how it all works out come fight week. Maybe I'll mention that in my preview, whether I would move anything around. We can readdress the tier list a little bit later on. Thank you for checking out this video. Like I said, tier list description, tier list link will be in the description if you do want to do it for yourself. Make sure you drop a subscribe, drop a like, drop a comment. Let me know. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Am I an idiot? Maybe, possibly. We'll find out at some point, I guess. I don't know. Eventually. But yeah, thanks for checking out this video. And if I don't catch you before, enjoy the fights.